Hey, how's everybody doing? I promised an update video to the trailer. I've gone just about as far as I'm going to go with it, and I'll show you some of the things. Some of the things I'm going over you probably saw in the last video, but I do have quite a few updates. If you'll notice, I put a 23-0 shower stall on it. We put our luggable loo inside. We have a hot water heater, and we can take little showers up top along the top rail. I have a large Canopy shade cover that pulls straight off to the side. I don't know, it's like 7 foot by 8 foot roughly. And that's about everything on this side. We're going to go over here to the hitch. Now, you'll have to excuse me, I got a new camera here. So what I did was I cut the donut off, the lunette donut. And then I welded this channel. And now this channel allows me to raise or lower the coupling to fit the Jeep. And it works a lot better. And the surge brakes, I maintained all the surge brakes. And it, zero issue. Coming over here, here's the spec sheet for those of you who want to see the spec sheet. The trailer does have handle brakes individual on each side, one per tire. They work perfect. And they're great when you set up and you set the brakes and you set the stands. Those are the stands that pull out and go in the back. And they make it quite a bit rigid so when you're walking inside it's not bouncing around. You would think you're in your house. This thing is so stable. Now notice the jerry can holder. I cut it down, and what I did was I went to Tractor Supply, and they sell trailer parts, and this is a trailer fender. So I bought a trailer fender, and I bought a spare tire, and the spare tire fits right in that radius perfect, and then I strap it in, and that's where my spare tire now rides, and I don't have it bouncing around in the back of the truck. All I did was rivet it to the back plate, and then it sits in there nice and strong, and then it'll have a 3-inch strap on it. Coming around on this side, I added another one of these shade canopies. They pull right out on Amazon. They're like $150, and it's a massive amount of shade. Hard to beat. You can see my window. I painted all the reflector housings. I cleaned up all the bulbs. Coming around, we got new tires on here. And then you won't know this, but I lowered the trailer, and I'm going to try to get into that a little bit here in just a second. So we come on around here. I have a plug-in. It's 110 shore power for when we go to like an RV park if we ever have to. Bungees help hold the door open so it doesn't blow around in the wind. Here's another shade canopy on the top. So I got shade on 3 sides. All 3 of these huge shade canopies cost way less than one of those 270-degree awnings. So, you know, I didn't get one, and I was already committed to one on each side. So that's kind of how it went. Back here is the water system, water pump. And then up here is the spigot. If you look right here, that's the switch that turns the water pump on. And if you come right here is another little switch that turns the actual porch light on. Right here is a mount. We slide one of those plastic things that contains a roll of paper towels. Slides on, so as we're out doing whatever, we can just pull a paper towel out the bottom and we're good to go. And then we come around over here on this side. This is where I fill the water, pull this out, and then the water goes right in, and then when I'm done, I just shut it. And then right here, that's a 12-volt plug. Since this is on the shower side, the 12-volt plug powers the water, the water pressure shower pump, and then of course it's propane heated. So I'm going to try to take you underneath. I'm not sure how good the camera's going to do, but we'll try it. Right here's my water tank. The water tank, I believe, is 20 gallons, but it could be like 22. But I thought it was about 20. I'm going to swap hands with the camera. Hold on just a second. Now, I lowered this trailer, and I'm going to try to squeeze you in here. If you can see the cutout, this axle rides in a cutout. And if you cut this plate, you can, and then you cut a notch into this, you cut a higher groove into this, you can effectively raise the axle. And then if you look in here at this piece of aluminum, now the axle rests on that aluminum. It used to be 5 inches, and that aluminum's 2.5. Steel Soldiers has a write-up on the 1101s on how to raise the axle, and you can go the full 5 inches, where this piece here welded to the axle will ride all the way up on the frame, or as you can see on mine, I use the aluminum square tube as a spacer. If you don't use the spacer, this plate right here, you're going to effectively just cut higher, and you can see the edge there where I cut it. So you can do a 5-inch drop, or you can do whatever you want to do up to 5 inches. But I did a 2.5, and you know what? If I don't like it, I'll unbolt this. I'll remove this 2.5-inch aluminum square tubing, and I'll let the axle go all the way up and right on the frame right here, and then I can get another 2.5. But you don't, these axles, there's no springs on these. They're like torsion axles, and they don't flex a whole lot. I mean, they flex and give a little bit. I put new shocks on mine, but I don't even think you need the shocks, to be honest. I think the rubber dampens enough. But these things are pretty beefy. Tons and tons of ground clearance. Yeah, I apologize for the lighting. I'm on the wrong side. But you can, I lowered mine, and it was a pain in the rear. It's not hard, but it's tedious, if that makes sense. So if you want to get one of these and you want to lower it, that's going to help with your hitch. Or you can do the hitch modification that I did, and you can lower it that way. But as you can see, let me come around on this side. As you can see, I still have plenty of room for the other 2.5 inches. And then my tires will actually just go up inside the wheel well. I'm trying to get you the full. The tires will go up inside there, and you could run the tire to the edge, as this edge right here would actually go down and probably not contact the tire the way I eyeball it. And if I run a straight edge, I believe it was pretty good. So do I need to lower it more? It would be less wind resistance, and I'm considering it, but this will be my first pull at the 2.5-inch lower, and then we'll see how it goes. These are the jacks right here. They come off of their stand, and you come around to the back, and they position on these nubs, and then you put the pin through, and then basically they completely stabilize your trailer. So that's everything on the outside. This door, Amazon bought. When I built the back of the trailer, solid 3/4 inch cabinet grade plywood, it was solid. I bought the door, I made a cardboard template, and then I cut that door out of the whole solid back of the trailer so that I knew it would fit right. And it fits perfect. Now let me step up on the back platform, and up here you can see my solar panel. I wish the lighting was better, but it is what it is. This is a SunPower 390 watt or 370 watt panel, I believe. And then all the way up front there you can see my Fantastic fan. Fantastic fan's pretty awesome. Now my roof, I don't know if you can see, it's not going to focus, but this is a complete roof membrane. So I rolled out on this expensive plywood, I rolled out the adhesive and I laid one sheet of plastic roof membrane. It's actually pretty thick. It's a solid 1/8 inch thick. And then it glues down. And then after it glued down, I cut holes. And then my membrane, if you can see the orange, membrane comes down and it folds all the way down and is underneath this 1.5 inch aluminum angle. So the membrane is folded all the way over, so nothing's getting in the edge, and if any water gets through this beading right here, it'll still roll off because the membrane's folded over the edging. And then I used that self-leveling sealant everywhere, which I actually really like. So now if we go on into the inside, I made quite a few changes. On the previous video I had bunk beds, and while the concept was amazing, I was so claustrophobic I couldn't sleep in there. So we removed the bunk beds and then we went to basically tandem beds side by side. And we are so much more comfortable. It's crazy. Now, if you notice right here, we previously had a individual battery, individual solar charge controller, and we had all of that stuff mounted over here on the panel. And it was such a pain and such a nightmare. And I'm always tinkering and dinking. We ended up buying a Bluetti AC200 Max. And let me tell you something. It's a 2000 48 watt hour battery, lithium iron phosphate. And it's unbelievably amazing. Solar charge controller built in, AC DC inverter built in. It has everything built in. I'm not going to go into the gist of it because there's 1,000 YouTube videos, but I have one, the solar panel is plugged into the side, and then in the front, right here in the front of it, goes all the way over here to my fuse box, and it's a 30 amp RV panel, 12 volt 30 amp with a 30 amp breaker. And now the Bluetti runs everything. I have the lights right here, and then I have the Fantastic fan I can turn on. Now what's interesting, so I got the Fantastic fan on high, you can probably hear it. And if I go over here, and I got two big LEDs, I have the Fantastic fan blazing, and you can see how much watts I'm pulling. That's how many watts I'm pulling. I mean, this thing would like run for a long time. 20 watts, 18 watts. So it pulls barely anything. And then if I take and I slow the Fantastic fan, okay, I got it down to 50%. With a Fantastic fan at 50%, the watts are so low it doesn't register. There's 2 watts. I mean, that's how low of consumption there is. Now you notice we're getting input from the photovoltaic cell, but since it's not in light, it's not enough wattage to register, so it's sub 1 watt. But look how much I'm pulling, and the Fantastic fan is on 50% and the LED lights are on. And I don't know if you can see it turning, but it's turning. Pretty amazing. The other cool thing about this Bluetti is when when we're sleeping up here on the beds and our heads are on our pillows up here, we lay our cell phones down, and then the wife has her cell phone, I have my cell phone, and these are charging pads. So we go to bed at night, we lay our cell phones on this, and they're charging pads, and it's perfect. In the middle of the night, if we're cold, I have a 150 watt space heater, and I just reach over and I click on the space heater and it pulls 150 watts. I've already tested it. I burnt off the smell the other day for a couple hours. And this trailer is so insulated that it's just perfect, 150 watts. Now, if you remember the last video, here's the air conditioner. I know you probably can't see it, but it's stored under the bed. The AC actually goes in the window. The AC pulls 460 watts, and during the day, my Bluetti pulls in 300 watts, so I'm using like 160 watts net to power the AC. And you do the math, 160 watts net on a 2048 watt hour battery with 1700 usable. Remember, it consumes energy in order to do the conversion, but I think we get 16 to 1700 usable. I can run the AC for hours off this battery, and I have done so, and the AC is cool. Now remember, the AC doesn't blow continuous either. It cycles on and off. When it cycles off, I'm pulling 40 watts, and when it cycles on, it's about 450. Cell phone holder, key holders. This little knob right here is where we actually hang this. You can see it's 82 degrees in here. Humidity's 29, which I think is high, but the lights are charging. I have little lights that snap into there. It's a little long LED fluorescent looking light. So each bed has a light. If you want to read, it snaps in, but I'm charging the batteries. They're rechargeable. Mattresses are, you know, the 4-inch or 5-inch thick foam. My bed, as you saw in the other video, folds up. It folds up, and what happens is, let me back out here. What happens is when I fold my bed up, we got about 20 inches between beds. When I fold my bed up, I can get another 6-8 inches of width because I have some big containers we bring, and then I just create a little center room when I tip my bed up. Over here we have a vacuum cleaner, which, believe it or not, comes in handy because we take our dog with us. All of this down here in this dark area, I know you can't see well, but it was just full charge controller. It was a big 12-volt battery, and I removed all that stuff. The wiring I'm still cleaning up. Don't worry, everything is going to be in protective sheeting and all that. You can see down here we have a nice size fire extinguisher. I just think that's critical. We hang our flashlight off the hook there, and then over here we have smoke and carbon monoxide detector. And you can see the thickness of the walls all the way around this are the solid 2-inch. So 2x2 steel tubing I framed, and then I put the actual cabinet grade plywood on the outside so that I maintain the 2-inch thickness of metal. And then I put that real thick, that housing foam, you know, it has plastic and metal on one side, but it's like foam. I put that foam board in between, and then all these furring strips are furred out into the structure, glued and brad nailed, and that sandwiches the 2-inch thick foam. So this thing is seriously insulated. But I built this structure way overkill because I thought if I ever wanted to mount a rooftop tent on here, I wanted the structure to be able to carry the load. And I'm not kidding, you could probably use a crane and set your car on top of this, and your car would just sit here and would not crush it whatsoever. All of the framing and the steel tubing is triangulated. So for every angle that you have sloped in, right here is another one sloped this way to the corner. So I triangulate when I build this stuff. I learned from an old engineering friend to increase the rigidity. And if you can imagine going down washboards and all that kind of stuff, it needs to be rigid. And then everything is glued and screwed and bolted. And then I use Sikaflex as an adhesive sealant, which is, oh my God, don't ever, when that stuff is glued and cured, you can forget about it. It's pretty amazing. I just got all the bedding piled up on this side. But I think that's about it. There's really nowhere else to go with this build. I got tons of shade. Now, somebody posted on the other one what I do with my kitchen. Well, we have folding tables we set out. We put our stove out. And we just basically, we have a camp kitchen. Luggable lube, believe it or not, works amazing for 2, 3, 4-day trips. We have a hot shower with water, so we can take a shower every day, wash our face. And I think that's about it. Most of the stuff and the parts and the water pumps and stuff like that I got on Amazon. So, I mean, everything that I used, the door was on Amazon. Now, the actual finish is Raptor liner. So I took the cabinet grade wood, I primed it, and then I sprayed Raptor liner, which gives it this thick plastic coating, and it's kind of rough, but I did it the same sting gray color as the Gladiator, so the trailer matches. And since mine's a Mojave with orange accents, I did a little orange accent to kind of go. These screws are pretty interesting. It's not going to focus. They're designed, they're wood over metal. So they have this little barb that shaves the wood as the screw goes in. Then the tip of the screw bites and self-taps on, and then it's for fastening wood to metal. They're real specific. And I call them spline drive, but they're basically Torx bits, like a 25 or a 30 Torx. And I use my DeWalt impact driver, and man, these things, you will never get these out. And then everything is Sikaflex glued. And then everything here, this is the 2-inch 2x2 tubing going across. So these are screwed into the 2x2 tubing and Sikaflexed on the inside, and it's pretty solid. That's about all I can think to show you. I do use the bungee. It comes in really handy because then the door doesn't blow in the wind. But it's pretty. The window was another Amazon buy. No complaints. I mean, it is what it is. I'm trying to see if there's anything else you need to see, but I think that's about it. But yeah, I just did this tire holder the other day, and I'm fixing to get the tire in there, and we'll be done. All right, leave it. Oh, let me help you here. So here is the crank. Now let me grab. I don't know what I did with the crank handle. Well, I had a crank handle. This crank handle, right? You go to crank and it hit this. And when I was engineering and kind of building this in my brain, I didn't catch it. So what I had to do is I made a bolt. And when you take this cover off with these two bolts right here, take these two bolts off, this slips off, and you see how it works. It's a gear on this rod with a pin, and the pin keeps the gear from spinning. So I removed the big crank handle, and I took a bolt that was the same diameter, and then I drilled the hole and remounted the gear. The bolt was a little long. It sticks out the edge right here, but it doesn't hit anything. So basically what I do now, until there's another fix, is I'll just use my drill, and I go up and down with my drill, and it actually hauls ass and works just fine. But you're going to want to grease the sprocket in here anyways. That is one pitfall that I did run into that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting that at all. But, you know, sometimes you need progress, and I just needed to get it done. All right, leave comments below. You have any questions? I'll see if you can read this data, this other placard right here. You can, I don't know if you can read that, but yep, that's about it. Comments, questions, what I could have done different. I mean, don't bother, because I know there's a million different ways I could have done it. But I tell you, this is what's jacked up. Last comment. I paid $1,000 for this 1101 from a guy. $1,000. That Blue Eddy right there with shipping and everything and some of the accessories was $2,000. I paid more for the flipping battery than I did the base trailer. But I'm telling you, I don't take my gas generator anymore. I can turn heat on, off. I can turn air conditioning on, off, and I can go for hours and hours. And being full battery is the only way to go. All right, fellas, have an amazing week. God bless, and we'll see you out in the woods. Bye.